And that we're not going to go on the stage or below the stage. I know, but next time, when the underneath the whole stage and underneath this whole complex is a whole series of dressing rooms for the performers. This is the orchestra pit here, where the live orchestra is set up, and there was an orchestra, a permanent orchestra of 26 players, and there's a little door, set of steps and a door that went into what's underneath the stage is an orchestra room, so that the musicians arrived 20 minutes before the show and got ready, and they came out and they went back in there during the intermission, and the theater employed a live orchestra, so they would play for the opening night. The star performer was a woman who's not known that much now, but her name was Eva Tanguay, and she was the Madonna. That's the comparison I'm using of her era. She was the most highly paid and popular singer of her day, and she was originally from Holyoke, which is why she opened the theater. Her name was Eva Tanguay. Her father was a dentist in Holyoke, and she was famous for she was called the I Don't Care Girl, and her famous song was I Don't Care. She also had another song that the lyrics of which were everybody does it, but not the way I do it. And so she was, an entertainer. I have another funny story to tell. Well, we'll come back to that. See these two white walls on either side of the proscenium. These, if you had been here 3 months ago, you would have seen the murals that were on those walls. Murals were painted on either side, and they depicted allegories of the triumph of victory over the forces of evil and darkness. And they were painted in 1942 by a WPA artist named Vincent Miragliata, and they have been taken down to be restored, and they will be put back up. When the theater opens, you'll love them. They're really great. Now, before the murals were there were boxes, what are called proscenium boxes. You know, those seating that comes out, and that was what was original from 1920 to 1940. When they did the refurbishment in the 1940s, they decided to take those boxes off, again, because it was mainly a movie theater, and you didn't want kids sailing paper airplanes in front of the screen. And above were the arches, those were on either side organ lofts. There was an organ here, which we are going to return an organ to the theater so that we can have organ accompaniment for silent films, which is very popular now and a lot of fun to come to for lunch concerts, nighttime concerts, and just as getting people kind of used to that, we are actually having a silent film at the Congregational Church, which is on Maple and Appleton Street, on November 13th that evening. It's going to be a double feature of a Buster Keaton comedy and then a film called Wings, which starred a silent film which starred Clara Bow, who was known as the It Girl. So there was the I Don't Care Girl and the It Girl. Yep. And the Congregational Church, incidentally, has a Skinner organ, one of only 4 left in America. A Skinner organ is an orchestral organ that can do all of the sounds of a 56-piece symphony orchestra. Wow. And it's, again, another one of these things that Holyoke has because of the great prosperity of its past. This, more of the silk. You can see the red silk that was behind and then the green silk that was put over. The ceiling here, those are cork tiles. And again, those were put in the 1940s, and it's a floating ceiling, and it's got, again, thousands of light bulbs underneath it. And when you turn it on, it had all these different, you could do all these different colorations, which I think is really cool.
You're going to keep the cork?
We're going to keep the cork. Yes, or clean it up. You know, it's actually in quite good condition. Yeah. I should point out, too, about the seats. The seats were put in 1941. They're made of aluminum and steel and iron, and the armrest is rock maple. And we are keeping these seats. They're going to be restored and refurbished because they're so valuable. Believe it or not, outdoor theaters and people have home theaters. These are very sought after seats. And yes, we will fit into them. Believe it or not, the earlier seats that predated 1940 were smaller than these, which is how they got to the 2,500 seats. They had more aisles, which came closer down here to the orchestra pit, and also, of course, the boxes had seats. And there were what were called loges on the right under the murals.
How many seats in the balcony?
The house divides among, it's 800 upstairs and 800 down, so it's a very good division. Also, you can tell down here, when I talked about the fan shape of the house, it's supported by 3 enormous beams that are in perfect condition, and that enabled, there's not a bad seat in this theater. I mean, even if you're all the way over on the right or all the way over on the left, they're perfect sight lines. You just pay a little less. This is the oval lobby. Here are the acoustics. This is the oval lobby, or what would have been called in the live theater the dress circle lobby or the second floor lobby. And it's an oval room. I think it's one of the most beautiful rooms in the whole state. Very beautiful room with the capital, the capitals, the gilded capitals, the trim, the wood paneling. Now, when I said that oval area was open downstairs, it would have been in the middle of this room. It would have been open. And there was a balustrade around it, and you could lean and say, "Hi, I'm up here, hurry up, the show's about to begin." But they covered that over because of light, when there's movies, and as I said, throwing fire on people's heads. The window behind there gives out onto Chestnut Street, to orient you, and on either side you'll see staircases that brought people from the balcony or up to the balcony down into this central gathering hall, and then people or lobby, people that came out from the dress circle area and gathered in here. There would have been concession stands during the movie times. I mean, the lady here identified herself to me. I don't mind, I share this with you. That you were the popcorn. You don't look like you could. I mean, you must have been a child. Anyhow, but I think there was concession stands here.
I work downstairs.
Oh, downstairs. Okay. You can point that out when we get downstairs. Okay. I mean, here's something here that I like a lot. Being in the theater business myself, this little thing. This was the house manager's telephone. Okay, so that went down to the box office. The box office would ring up and say, "Everybody's in." Okay, the tickets are all sold. I mean, they would talk, and then he would then, or she would then alert up in the booth where the technicians were who ran everything that the show could begin, and then put the phone back in. We have the phone, and then shut the door, and then stand in front of it so people wouldn't go grab it, phone their mother or whatever. The ceiling is a coved ceiling, which it's domed, and it's a very, very unique and expensive kind of ceiling to make. It's all put on plaster on a wooden frame that sits above it. It was probably made by Italian artisans who were specialists in making this kind of ceiling. And around, you have also, again, the coving, and that has all the thousands of lights. So again,